Got one day before yesterday, right? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah. Okay, so you may want to go there, just to have a better view. Even though you are wearing a UCLA sweatshirt, and so maybe you should go outside the whole building.
I'll come down when I feel
Having been a graduate of Berkeley, I can't wear my own stuff anymore. That's what my undergraduate work was. Yeah, UC Berkeley. Okay, so this is not the last class. It's the last session of this season, of this series. We'll have other classes that we'll be doing between Pesach and Shavuot, and then other classes between Shavuot and the high holidays, and so on. This is not the last class. Wednesday night we have class at Talmud and Tobacco. Wednesday night the topic is the hidden secrets of Passover, and I recommend you come because it will change how you do Passover.
Interesting. That's this.
Wednesday night at 7:30 at Stonehouse.
Oh, it's Stonehouse.
Stonehouse.
Oh, right. So that's where.
Because it's smoking. You don't have to smoke, but there will be people who are. So, but you can drink, and you can drink you can drink anything on Wednesday, because a week later you will not be able to drink anything. Okay, people say, Rabbi, how come you drink tequila? And my answer is because all tequila is kosher for Passover. It's made of a cactus, not a grain. Most other alcohols are not kosher for Pesach. Wine is.
No beer.
Gin is, if it's pure gin. Potato vodka is.
Right.
Yeah.
That's about it. And then there's the odd ones like sambuca and stuff that are made of other tequila because it's not made of a grain. All right. It doesn't rise. Anyway. So we started this all off. And remember, these are the Siddur and the Tanakh. Whatever Siddur we use, and the Tanakh. These are the primary books. And if you know these, you know the calendar, you really know a lot about Judaism. But we've gone through a lot. And I don't know if you guys realize how much we've gone through. Okay, but a tremendous amount. So one of the things is, to look at just for a moment what we've gone through and to see how you may have changed your perception of being a Jew, being Jewish in the 21st century, of Judaism, of Jewish version of God, the Jewish take on all those things may have changed hopefully in the last 6 months. Okay. All right. So we have a butcher paper. So let's see what we remember. All of Judaism in under an hour. Watch this. Okay. And I'm not even going to have to put on an auctioneer voice and talk really quickly. Okay. We start off, God's name, Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. Also known as the Tetragrammaton, Hashem, which means the name, or Adonai, which means my master. Sound familiar?
Yes.
Hineni, I am present. The idea of Bereshit, being in the beginning, but it doesn't mean in the beginning, does it? It means a whole other thing when we broke apart that word, right? So it's a lot more than that. We get to the idea of, we haven't talked about this in months, but you still remember it. This is good. This is good. Or as a Hasidic rabbi would say, this is good. Again, I think, by the way, I want to remind everyone that I really think it's important to try and reframe ourselves that we're saying to each other a good Shabbos, not a Shabbat Shalom right now. Shabbat Shalom means you have a Sabbath of peace. Good Shabbos means you have a Sabbath of life, which is what we need right now. Ha-Adam, the first human being. Remember, it's not a man or a woman. It's Ha-Adam. Splits into Adam and Eve. 10 generations later, you have Noah. You have the flood. He's righteous in his generation. We talked about, is it easy to be righteous in a generation where everyone's bad, or easy to be righteous in a generation where everyone's good? Remember, we had those discussions. We go on 10 generations later, you have Abraham. Boop. Although his name starts as Avram, his wife Sarai. He's the son of the idol maker. And his name changes to Abraham when he gets the Brit Milah, and the Hay of God's name goes into it. He is known for his hospitality. As a result of his hospitality, we learn about Sodom and Gomorrah being destroyed because they're not hospitable. We learn about Abraham getting Yitzchak over here with Sarah. Now remember, he has this handmaiden Hagar that Sarah suggests they have Ishmael. From that comes all of the Arab world. Sarah and he have the miracle. They have Yitzchak, Isaac, whose name means laughter. We have the binding of Isaac. Remember, it's Isaac who's bound, not Abraham. We always talk about it from Abraham. His wife Rebecca sees Isaac meditating in a field, falls off her donkey, right? Because the glow of the meditation coming down. And he also, and from him, he has two sons, Esau and Yaakov. Esau, the older twin, Yaakov, the younger twin. But because Esau sells his birthright for a bowl of beans, which was his grandfather's memorial. Yaakov has 4 wives, 2 wives and 2 handmaidens, Leah, Rachel, and 2 handmaidens. He takes the birthright, but it's really not stealing it. The angel, the dream. Remember, we wrote about the dream going up and down, the angels ascending and descending. The angels come from here, and his name is changed to Israel, he who wrestles and triumphs over God, after wrestling with an angel. He has their children. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Naphtali, Issachar, Asher, Dan, Zebulun, Gad, Judah, Joseph, Benjamin, and Dinah, right? And that these are the tribes of what becomes ultimately the tribes of Israel, except that Levi ends up having his own space, not considered the same tribe, but considered Levites. And Joseph ends up having both Ephraim and Manasseh. So those are 2 tribes as well. Everything sound familiar so far? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Look how much you've learned. From Judah will come King David and King Solomon. From Benjamin will come Saul. From Levi will come Moses, Aaron, Miriam, and all the Kohanim, the priests. We have the story of Joseph. Anytime you want to pop a question, it's okay.
No, I was going to say, it just so happens we're having a grandson in the next 2 weeks.
B'sha'ah tovah.
Thank you. And may all be good. And his name is going to be Judah. And so you just were saying that from Judah came
King David and King Solomon.
Straight from wisdom.
Okay. So then we have the whole story of Joseph, the great dream interpreter. Remember, he gets his brothers really angry. They end up selling him. He ends up going to Potiphar. He becomes Pharaoh's number 2 guy for interpreting dreams. His coat of many colors. Everyone follows him to Egypt, where the name Ivrim comes from, because the word Ivrim means to cross over. Ivrit is the language of Hebrew. We are the people who cross over, cross boundaries. That's who we are. Whether it's the Jordan River that we crossed over, or whether it's any land or sea, but it's also we cross boundaries. People don't understand that. We don't fit in the box. So to speak. And so they all fall into Egypt, and we go up to Egypt, and there arises a king who knows not of Joseph, and the Jews are enslaved, the Hebrews are enslaved, and when they call out, and they call him Moshe Rabbeinu. We have the story of Moses, the basket and the water, how he's raised that way, the plagues, the burning bush, Pesach, Passover, which is coming up, the wandering in the desert, which becomes Sukkot, and the golden calf and the 10 commandments being given on Shavuot, those being the 3 festivals of pilgrimage, 3 festivals that we come to Jerusalem at that time, which would be Passover, Sukkot, and Shavuot. They come out of it all, they've gotten all this, and then they send the spies into the new land. They're at the border of Israel. New land, the spies come back, 10 of them say, oh no, it's too scary. Joshua and Caleb say it's fine. 10 of them say it's too scary. And so we wander for 40 years, not almost 40 years. 10 people can change the world. That simple. They're really committed. The idea of kosher animals, grazers, predators, scavengers. The idea of tzitzit, these knots, these all happen while we're in the wilderness that are Talasim. The story of Balaam and his talking donkey. Remember Balaam and the talking donkey? Right? And Balak, and from that comes how goodly are your tents, O Jacob. Amalek, so important now. Amalek, the one who attacks from behind. We are commanded not to defeat Amalek, but to destroy Amalek, to blot out his remembrance from the earth, from memory of the earth. And how do we know if someone is a modern Amalek? Because they are attacking the weak, the old, the infirm, the young. Back.
So,
Go ahead.
can I ask a question? We were talking with
No, you can't ask it.
friends over the weekend, and what was Stephen's question about? He was asking a rabbi when they were in New York about why did Abraham not wear tefillin and don tefillin?
Because he wasn't commanded to yet.
Well, I didn't use those words, but I said, well, wait a minute, maybe that wasn't even a thing then, and now you're talking about kosher and tzitzit and all of that. They came much later.
Much later.
Right. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. Prior to, we don't have those laws at that time. That's why he doesn't.
Right. And was it partially because when, it was the first temple and then the second temple, like everybody was all in one area.
That's farther down. That's farther down.
Oh,
But this is in the very beginning. Abraham did what he was supposed to do.
He just did it.
He just did it. There's no, and we learn about from the stories, we learn about commandments. But many of those commandments are actually not given in Genesis with Abraham. They're given in Exodus and Leviticus and Numbers, etc. Okay.
And obviously to be a reminder of what you're
Yeah,
saying.
exactly. To remind to stop you. Remember, it literally says that tzitzit to stop your eyes, which used to go whoring. It's actually a translation.
Okay.
Tzitzit. Balaam is talking donkey. Amalek. How we must destroy Amalek. How do we know Hamas must be destroyed and not negotiated with? Because they attack the children, the old, the weak, the infirm, the civilians. Moses does not get allowed to enter Israel. Remember, we talked about that. He dies in the wilderness. Joshua leads the people into the land of Israel. They each get their own tribes, their own lands. Okay, there. And they come together in the judges. We are living in a time of judges.
Mhm.
Okay, meaning that the judges, the same story recapitulated over and over and over again. The Jews do what's not good in the eyes of the Lord. As a result of that, bad things happen to the Jews. They're suffering. They call out because they finally are so tortured by it, so bad. They call out a redeemer. Judges sent Gideon, Samson, etc. Deborah, who comes and unifies the tribes. They win the wars. They're in charge. Everything's fine. And then again, they forget what their real roots are. Okay, our biggest ally currently in the modern world in Israel is not the Iron Dome. It's not Joe Biden. It's not the United States of America. It is God. That is our ally, and we need to always keep that in mind. The story of some of these judges, especially Samson with his long hair, and Delilah, and how he's blinded ultimately because his eyes were going in the wrong places. And so the karma for that ends up being that. The prophets, remember that the Tanakh is Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. This is all part of the Nevi'im, the prophetic section. The prophets, we learn about Samuel that Samuel, his mother Hannah, prays with such passion, right? And so she gets Samuel. Samuel anoints King Saul. He anoints King David. King David is the beloved of God, the musician, the shepherd, the warrior. His issue with Bathsheba, right? He's standing on his parapet and he sees this naked woman bathing, and all that what that leads to. Question is, what was she doing bathing naked in front of the king to begin with? What was he doing looking to begin with? They're both there. The idea of he writes Psalms, the descendant of a Jew by choice, because David is, we're taught that the Messiah will be as well. Remember what we talked about, and this is something I was just recently looking at a video of Rabbi Lord Sachs, Jonathan Sachs, former chief rabbi of England, who said the same thing, which I had not ever heard him say before I saw this video recently. This book is not about what most people think it's about. Over 2/3 of the pages in this book have to do with the land of Israel, the temple, rebuilding the temple, etc. There's King David, King Solomon, the rebuilding of the temple destruction, its ultimate rebirth. Okay, so we go down. Solomon, King David writes Psalms to Tehillim. Solomon, who's so wise, builds the temple. He writes Mishlei. When he's a young man, he writes Song of Songs. Shir Shirim. A middle-aged man writes Mishlei, Proverbs. As an old man, he writes Ecclesiastes, Kohelet. Then we have the split of the kingdoms in 722, before the Common Era. 10 kingdoms up north, 2 of Judah and Benjamin down in the south, where Jerusalem is. Jerusalem is the city of David, and they split. Okay, so we have what comes with this. We have all what the prophets really are. They foretell the destruction, the rebuilding of a temple. They have different personalities. Micah is very sweet. Ezekiel has his chariot. Jeremiah is grumpy, of the 7 dwarves. Malachi talks a lot about the Messiah and Elijah. Isaiah is very much like Ezekiel in some ways, except he grew up in the big city, so he doesn't have the same attitude. Jonah with the whale, the big fish that swallows, and he's the recalcitrant prophet. We come up after all the Nevi'im section to Ketuvim. The writings, how the idea is that it's how to experience God in every type of relationship. Job, Psalms, Ruth, all these kind of books. And ending with Ezra and Nehemiah, who are all about how to rebuild the temple. It's about rebuilding the second temple. We've now covered the entire Tanakh in all of 13 minutes. But you knew it all, didn't you?
I remember a lot of it.
As you're triggered on it,
Yeah. Wasn't here for a lot of it, but
Yeah.
it triggers things, right? Well, this is what we do on Shavuot too, is the idea. Okay, we learned about the holidays. Going through the calendar year, Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year, the 10 days in between, the Yomim Darim, the Yom Kippur, the day of at one man, Sukkot, followed by Simchas Torah, Hanukkah that comes in the winter, Tu B'Shvat, the New Year of the Trees, Purim, and the Book of Esther, Passover, and then the counting of the Omer. So we get to Shavuot. After Shavuot, we have the 17th of Tammuz, which is the golden calf. Tisha B'Av, which is so sad, Slichot, when we ask for forgiveness. This is the major traditional holiday calendar. We've added to it Yom HaShoah, Yom HaZikaron, these minor holidays that are modern holidays. But this is your basic calendar. The only time that we have a month off without a holiday being between Simchas Torah and Hanukkah. That's why smart rabbis don't take their vacations during the summer; they take them in November.
Huh.
After why are you taking them when you got to prepare for high holidays?
Yeah.
Better to take them after Sukkot and Simchas Torah is all done. You got 7 weeks off. Makes more sense, right? It just kind of makes more sense. But most of us are stuck doing things based upon the secular year of summertime. Anyhow, we move to Talmud, the oral law, composed of the Mishnah, the second part, and the Gemara. Its commentaries on it as well. That's the structure. Thematically, there's halacha, law, agadah, lore. Right? Everyone with me on this? And we learned about this. We learned about machlokas, the debate. Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, Rabbi Hillel and Rabbi Shammai, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Judah the Prince, who assembles the Mishnah, Rabbi Akiva. We talked about some of the tractates, Pirkei Avot, which is the one tractate of Mishnah that does not have a Gemara, Berachot, Baba Metzia, Baba Batra, Baba Kama, Sanhedrin, Shabbos, these different tractates. And takes, if you read 1 page a day, it takes you up a little over 7 years to go through the entire Talmud. But this is how we practice all of this. This is what teaches us what it's all about, and hidden means of it as well. We went into the Gaonic period, the 4th through 10th centuries, the Sadi Gaon, the High Gaon, composition of this Siddur, the prayer book, where they try and reverse engineer the experience that happened at the times of the temple, but they reverse engineer it to create it in a prayer book, so that if you really let the prayers move through you, you have a transcendent experience. And so we go through the 4th through 10th centuries. By that time, the Siddur is codified, and the Siddur is pretty much unchanged since that time. We have the split between Ashkenazi and Sephardi. The Ashkenazi are going into Eastern Europe, the Sephardi into Spain, Portugal, etc. A subdivision of the Sephardi being the Mizrahi and Iran, Iraq, that kind of area. How am I doing? Okay. See how much you guys like it? It's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Except I left my coffee on the wrong side of history.
You don't even realize how much you have learned.
That's exactly why to do this. Exactly why. The legal codes, the Tur, the Shulchan Aruch, Rabbi Yosef Karo, the Rambam, the commentators, Ramban, Nachmanides, Rambam, Maimonides, Rabbeinu Bachya, Rashi, when we talk about all the different commentaries that we have on all this different Torah and Talmud, etc. And anti-Semitism. We talk about anti-Semitism, the horns on Moses' head because of the mistranslation of the Vulgate. 1144, the Norwich, England, the blood libel. Modern blood libel today, Candace Owens saying that all the Jews are run by, that Hollywood is run by a Jewish gang that is like the Crips and Bloods.
Yeah.
By the way, it's approximately 22% of Hollywood executives are Jewish. That's all. But apparently we control that. I have to talk to him, but not right now because we're only in the Middle Ages. So 1144 Norwich, England, we have the blood libel, which on its face is so stupid because are we even allowed to drink blood? No. I want him to, but right. Okay. We went into mysticism. Maaseh Bereshit. How and why did God create the world? Maaseh Merkavah. How and why does God sustain the world? The concept of Yahud, unifying with God. Devakut, cleaving. Not like this, not like this, not like this, but like this. Okay, to have that kind of intimate experience. We talked about Ezekiel with Maaseh Merkavah and Gematria, numerology. Lekabel, meaning to receive. And the sacred texts of Sefer Bahir, Sefer Yetzirah, Zohar. These texts that have so much when you learn about Kabbalah or Jewish mysticism. These are the source texts along with Talmud and Tanakh. Okay, as well. The Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, who combines and understands that ethics at their core, you have to first ethics, and then you can understand mysticism at a different level. Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Ha'ari, known as the Lion or the Holy Rabbi Isaac, in Spot and Kabbalah and the 10 Sefirot. When people are talking about Kabbalah today, they're really talking about Lurianic Kabbalah. Hitbodedut or Hisbodedus meditation. Remember the idea of being alone, boded in a plant, or alone, and also part of branch of a tree. We then got into the 18th century. We moved all the way into the Reformation in Germany with Moses Mendelssohn. At the same time going on in Eastern Europe with Hasidism, the pious ones led by the Rabbi Baal Shem Tov, the master of the good name, master of God, whose real name was Rabbi Israel ben Eliezer. His storytelling, his mystic, his nigunim, calling a Rebbe as opposed to a rabbi, takes on a whole other level. The Toldos is one of his two, and Dober, his two major students. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, as Shlomo Karlach said, every Jew has two Rebbes, your Rebbe and Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. The storytelling, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, who writes a book called the Tanya, where they focus on 3 energy centers, 3 sefirot of Chokhmah, Bina, and Da'at, which becomes Chabad. That's where it comes from. What he actually says in his preface is for the Jews of his time and his place, and not for other Jews of other times and other places. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, the sweetness but the strength, the Redeemer of Israel, and all of him. We talked about Musar, Rabbi Israel Salanter, and Jewish psychoethics, a Musar shmooze, and we all experienced that for a little bit. Zionism, if you will it is no dream. Im Tirtzu Ein Zo Agadah by Theodor Herzl, the Balfour Declaration, Ben Gurion, Bolomeyer, Chaim Weizmann, the idea of kibbutz, and Rabbi Abraham Isaac Cook. I think we talked about him as well, did we not? We talked about Ralph Kook, who was able to bring together the totally non-observant kibbutzniks and the totally observant Orthodox and bring them all together. We need someone like him today.
Yeah.
We went through the Shoah, the Holocaust. Yom HaShoah is not Yom HaShoah. Its name is actually Yom HaShoah, Ugevura, the day of the Holocaust, and of strength. It's so important to remember. It's about strength as well. Post-Shoah theology, how do we interact with a God to let the Holocaust happen? And we're still bearing the effects of that. That's why there's so many secularized Jews who have turned their back on it.
Yeah.
The 614th commandment, the idea that we shall not give Adolf Hitler a posthumous victory. The concept, so now we have Reform Judaism over here, Hasidic, Conservative comes in here, go into post-denominational and trans-denominational. So we have Orthodox, Hasidic, Conservative, Reform, Reconstructionists. We did not talk about Reconstructionists because I don't understand the theology. Renewal, which is basically Hasidism in English, or like Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi, Rabbi Shlomo Krolak, both of blessed memory. The idea of the camps, the Jewish camps that really kept Jews alive in the 1950s through 90s. Challenges in American Judaism today. Let's talk about that in God's name. So we have gone in 25 minutes.
A recap.
I need a drink.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Impressive.
You guys learned a lot, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
You have learned more than most first-year rabbinic students, with the exception of Hebrew. I mean that seriously. Okay, you learn more doing this than most first-year, if you take out the Hebrew part of it, than most first-year rabbinic students. Okay? You've learned about things that they don't even know about, or touched on things that even many rabbis don't know about. And you explored some of that stuff. So where are we now? And what do we do? Well, certainly we're at war. We know that. We know they want to kill us. But that hasn't changed in 3,700 years, has it?
3,000 years hasn't changed.
Hasn't changed at all, has it?
Same story.
And that's what Jewish holidays, right? What are they? They attacked us. What?
You attacked us.
Do you have a question?
No, I
we
looked
won.
through the flag.
We fought.
They
We
attacked us.
won.
We won.
That's exactly. That's every holiday, isn't it? Unless it's Tish B'Av. They attacked us. They won, so we don't eat.
Yeah.
Okay. But the reality is that what we are going through is not unique in our history. The challenge is that we all grew up in a world that was unique in Jewish history, where anti-Semitism was covert, it was hidden. And that's changed back to where it has been for our whole history. And we need to remember that all the different people who tried to destroy us, what has happened? Do we see them now? No.
We're still here.
We're still here. And what do we take away from it all? I think one thing to take away is to understand the relationship between a tzaddik, which is a righteous one, tzedakah, which is charity, and tzedek, which is justice. To be a righteous one, you must give charity, you must be just. You must seek justice and pursue it. Certainly the idea of hineni, being present in the moment. Because that's what Judaism tries to, our rituals, our practices try to get us to do. But if we look back at the history of the destruction of the temple, it took centuries for Judaism to figure out who and what it was, didn't it? Centuries before you start having the Siddur. And we're still recovering from the Shoah, from the Holocaust. We really are. And you have people who do not believe, you're watching people, all of us are watching people who do not believe October 7th really happened. Or they say there's a moral equivalency between October 7th and anything else, and there isn't, is there? They deny that. And you've got even more people who deny the Holocaust, even ever happened. But it is, I get hate mail from them. You know, there weren't even 6 million Jews to kill. There is nothing new under the sun, King Solomon says. Right? And what we're going through today, our ancestors went through wherever our ancestors are from. My friend and teacher, Rabbi Shlomo Schwartzy, used to say that every Jew has a home, and there's only one place, Israel. I think Robert Frost was who said that home is a place where they have to take you when you want to go.
Yeah.
I think it was something to that effect, right? And although we are all citizens of different countries in the world, we are also all citizens of Israel. What we see here is a tying together. And what ties it all together? The land of Israel. The place. 150 plus nations that are Christian based, 50 some nations that are Muslim based, one Jewish nation. A little tiny piece. So the question becomes what to do now. Faith and action. Throughout here, you see all of our leaders. What do they all combine? Faith and action. We don't have leaders that are just filled with faith. We don't have leaders that are only action based. We don't treasure that. We want both. So what do we need to do now in 2024? We need to educate. You all are in a place now that you were not 6 months ago. Meaning that you all have knowledge now. And there's a responsibility with knowledge, which is to share it. Okay, that's what it's about. There's a man named Yogi Bhajan Khalsa. Yogi Bhajan brought Kundalini yoga to this country. Did I say yogurt? I meant Kundalini yoga.
You did say you.
I think I did say it. And he said, "I did not come to make disciples. I came to make teachers. We are to be a light unto the nations, each of us as individuals. You know more than 90+% of the political pundits out there about not only our history, but about Israel's history. Is there such a thing as Palestine? No. You know about things that other people don't. Our obligation is to share it and teach it.
And not
This-
get yourself attacked at the same time.
I'm sorry, what?
And not get yourself attacked at the same time.
It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people will ask the question of why do I do what I do? And the answer is because I have no choice.
Well, verbal attacking I can handle. I'm talking about the physical part.
Again, hopefully that won't happen. But we have the obligation because we are supposed to go and teach this stuff.
Yeah.
What is God? How do we express our relationship with God? Can anyone be closer to God than anyone else in Judaism? No. In Catholicism, a priest is a gateway.
Yeah.
Right? He's closer to God than you are. Is that the case in Judaism?
No.
No.
No individual conversation.
You can't. It's just a matter of how aware is anybody. So we have an obligation to stand up. Does that just mean standing up to Jew haters, or does that mean standing up to other Jews? Or standing up to rabbis? What if you see a rabbi doing something that's wrong?
You tell them.
That's the Jewish way, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have a dialogue about it.
Yeah.
That's our way. And it is so important to understand that we have an obligation. If even the people at this table went out to everyone you talked with, they made any comment that was even half off kilter, and you corrected them, despite the fact that it might cause conflict, that changes the world, doesn't it?
It's the only way to make the change.
Well, first the change within ourselves, to learn and
True.
deepen our awareness of our relationship with
Yeah.
God. So that's a lot of stuff you guys learned, isn't it? Thoughts about all this? Comments?
You can't ever stop learning.
Ever.
Well, clearly what you learn in religious school is not what you learn. No, it's true. I knew, but which is what interests us, that is in following the process and even just going through your 15, 20-minute, cliff notes, as we'll say, right? Where it really brings a completely different perspective in what Jews have gone through. And
Yep.
and how we got to where we are, but really how much really didn't change, like as it went through the same basic things, how many things repeat itself in the actual Tanakh
Text.
and all that. So I think that was also, I found it interesting, I guess I would say, is that it just kept repeating the stories,
That's why we spent so much time on the early Tanakh stuff, the early Torah stuff.
Yes, absolutely. But then it's always, and I think where the reason that, sorry, my brain isn't functioning very well right now, but the Talmud, and when you talk about the law and the lore, then it's interpreting the law and bringing the lore and the stories. And it was really wonderful to go through some of them with you and hearing the rabbis debating. I mean, I know that's how I always grew up and how I understood things, but as an adult now and what you learn when you're a kid growing up, completely different perspective.
It's a different thing. There are martial arts where you're not teachable until you become a black belt.
Right.
Black belt means you're now teachable. Bar mitzvah is not the completion, it's the beginning.
And then, of course, this whole class with you, this one started, a week later, this happened, so I think that also brought a completely different perspective, probably to the class too, and what, and the influences and things that have really helped me. You said something when you were referring to what your goal and hoped and prayer for meeting with Candace Owens was about, explaining that what happened on October 7th can't be compared to anything else.
She won't understand the slightest.
No, I mean, she didn't, but that when you said that, something else came up in my life that allowed me to use that basic same analysis of the horrific thing that happened on October 7th and what Hamas did can't be compared to the tragic things that are going on with Gaza and the rest of the world now too. They are completely different things, and if people don't understand that, then they really don't understand what has happened in Israel and for the Jews.
But they don't understand this history.
Right.
No.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a piece of it. The other thing is, if you look at this, you see a couple of patterns repeating themselves. One is the land of Israel.
Mhm.
The other is God.
Okay.
God's hand is always upon us.
When I see throughout this narrative, that there's a tremendous moral compass to Judaism. And that's what I subscribe to.
Yeah.
The moral compass. I was talking to a young lady who told me, I'm no longer, she's what she called herself, a lapsed Catholic. So I told her, so what? You have a moral compass.
Yeah.
That's more important than anything else.
And this gives us a moral compass.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
This gives us the behavior as opposed to just
It gives a
theology.
guidepost.
Tells you what to do and not do.
Absolutely.
Other comments?
Yeah, for me, it's throughout the entirety of history, so many events occurred that threw us off the path or could potentially have essentially extinguished the Jewish people. The one that I was least aware of that you brought up, and it was more towards the end of class, and it might have been, I don't remember if it was the 13th century, the 14th century, you were talking about one individual who was potentially the most important person in Jewish
Shabbatai
history,
Tzvi.
Oh,
Yes.
right.
who nearly took out a full third of the Jewish population by taking all of these things that were happening upon himself and turning Jews away from God,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, it's
And
very,
that potentially could have, I mean,
such a powerful character that people don't even know.
No, exactly.
but everything happens for a reason. And the two other groups that didn't follow that particular individual, it all recoalesced, right?
And this will recoalesce as well with God's help, whether it be under a Messiah, Mashiach comes, whether it be that we just get our act together. October 6th, Jews were split. October 7th, or October 8th, Jews were all unified pretty much. By December 8th, they all split again.
Mhm.
I don't know how people are today after being attacked in Iran. I just spoke with someone, wasn't even aware that had happened.
What?
Are you kidding?
It's on our email list.
Well, I think some people have tuned out of that, and we're trying to maybe intentionally or just because of burnout of it all. But,
You can do it.
no matter what, the rest of the news, I try to tune out. I read your texts or your emails. I read them.
I've got someone does. I have no idea people do. So
We read them, and then it allows us to go do, some other investigation if we want to. But I read them, and you're always my starting point and the moral compass, to use your words. But I think that if that didn't change something, again, and what will,
I,
I
look,
don't know.
I'm trying to do my piece on it.
I don't know. It's
If
scary.
you told them, where's your moral compass, they would look at you and would have no concept of what you're talking about.
That's true.
Because there are people, I don't care what their ethnic background is or whatever, they just don't have the capacity to have a moral compass. I have many, many non-Jewish friends. The only Jews I know are in this synagogue. That's it. But every one of my non-Jewish friends, they have a moral compass.
Yeah, there's one of the things with Judaism is that Judaism teaches us. It's that line that I quoted from the HUC professor. I suspect I quoted it. I don't remember. I suspect I did. That Judaism is not meant to make you feel good, but meant to make you be better.
Mhm.
It is hard to be a Jew.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be a good person all the time. You have to work
It's,
at it. It's not
Yeah.
but you know what? It's
Yeah.
especially hard to be a Jew.
absolutely.
That's the
and it's
point.
very
They're
hard
both
to-
synonymous.
No, you're right. And it's also hard to be, we personally, we attract and connect with people that are as much like us as possible.
Mhm.
Friends that we're not, for lots of other reasons, even before this, are not the same friends that we used to be, because I realized I don't want to have to defend who I am to anybody.
But you shouldn't have to.
You-
It's
No,
the analogy.
No, I agree, but.
The analogy that I make.
Didn't we all have those friends that even prior to this that were praying, and now the same thing now, and now they are questioning. But look at all the, destruction and going on in Gaza, and
Yeah.
that's not okay, and the poor people, the innocent, and da-da-da, and I said,
Yeah. No.
that is horrible.
But that's not the main point.
Well, no, it's a different point. It's not the main point. They're two different points. What happened with Hamas and Amalek is completely different. And anybody could have, Hamas could have changed if they wanted to and changed this.
They turned down peace again. They turned down.
I know.
They turned down
7,
yesterday.
8, 9
Yeah.
times.
Exactly. They could have changed
They
it.
had
They
with
don't
an
want
option.
Because they don't
But look,
fight.
one of the things that
Because they're, yeah, but now Iran's involved. And
Well,
wait,
we'll see. But one of the
That's
things, I'll get back to the
always-
Judaism part of it. So one of the things about Judaism is that we're tolerant of other people's beliefs.
absolutely.
That is different than many people who say they're tolerant of other people's beliefs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we really
Right.
subscribe to it.
Okay. So there are people that I've known for many years that I do not have friendships with, and not just in the last 6 months, but over the last 10 years, because I'm okay with what their political beliefs are, even though I'm 100% certain they're wrong and out of their mind. But I'm okay with that.
Right.
But they're not okay with where mine are.
Right.
So for them, it has to be, no, you have to change, you have to change, you have to change. Well, why? And it's like, okay, if you're going to keep having this conversation, I just can't keep having dialogues with you if every time it's going to be about these politics. And that's, and Judaism is about the machlok, the debate, the dialogue, to understand a deeper level. And when we don't allow that, it's a problem. One of the challenges also is that, remember, we do not fight for war or for gain. We fight for peace.
Mhm.
Peace is not a cessation of violence. Peace is different.
That's why, and that's why the Israeli Defense Forces, the Israeli Pentagon, they're having a big debate what to do.
Yeah, and we'll see what they do.
And
And
it's really going to be interesting to see what they do, because
what they do,
What they do,
as opposed to what they pee.
It's going to be very interesting what there are so many alternatives they can take, and so many steps they can take or not take.
And what can they do, and what's the world going to do? And
Yeah, right.
I hope that they learned the lesson that protracting things like they have in Gaza is a big mistake, because it's not going to relieve pressure from other countries. They're not going to. So, but we need to look at what is Judaism and why to be Jewish, and then teach that to people. Does Judaism think of God as being this big guy on a throne with a long white beard and a crown?
No.
Does Judaism think of God as a puppet master?
No.
So a lot of people have been turned off to Judaism because that's how they grew up. They went to religious school, and it was Catholicism with a little Hebrew. And it had no spirit. And our job is to teach that to ourselves and to others. So one word or phrase that you've taken away from the last 6 months. We'll start on this side. One word or phrase.
I'll say the moral compass.
I can't think of one.
I missed a lot, so I'm pretty much moral compass.
One word is a tough one, but,
Or phrase.
well, I think one of the words that's up there in the very beginning, hineni, being present. I tried to be much more present in my life over the past 5 or 10 years, and just, and it just ties it all into some of what we learned in this class.
Okay, I would say thank you and gratitude for letting me be here and do this with you guys, and that we need to be grateful to God all the time. And to remember that it is about being present, and it is about being ethics and ethical behavior, and it is about there's this amazingly rich pathway. And I'm just going to read through a slew of terms. It's on here. Okay. No, it is not. Okay. I have 3 pages of terms, but it's not.
I have a dichotomy going on inside of me. I believe firmly in the moral compass, but I also believe in destroying people like Halamach.
Okay, but
And that to me is a conflict.
okay. So
Because-
that's fair thing. So let's talk about that for just a moment. One of the, I don't know who said this statement, but it's not our theology, but the greatest trick the devil ever did was to convince people he didn't exist.
What did you say it again?
I don't remember who said the greatest trick the devil ever did was to make people think he didn't exist.
Oh.
I forget who said that. It was a Christian or a Catholic theologian, I think. But that was a statement. evil exists.
Mhm.
I agree.
Of course.
No, not of course.
I mean, it just
It's
happened, I mean.
That's a certainty.
Evil exists.
It's,
Now, I'm not going to personify it like a devil or even say
No.
that a person is evil necessarily, but evil exists and evil needs to be stopped. And Amalek is the understanding that there is a place of where you have so surrendered your soul to your Yetzer Hara, your evil inclination, that it needs to be destroyed. There's no redemption in this world. And so Pharaoh's soldiers go into the Sea of Reeds and drown, and we should never rejoice in it.
Mhm.
I find it an irony because I haven't changed my position in the last 6 months at all. Have I, Orlando? I mean, I haven't changed what I say at all. But 6 months ago, I was convincing people who wanted to go and just carpet bomb Gaza,
Yeah.
to calm down. We need to do, but we should not rejoice it.
Mhm.
The only good Arab's a dead Arab. We don't rejoice in it. We need to destroy Hamas, and it's going to be so great when they're all gone. No, it's not. Yes, we do need to destroy them, and no, it's not going to be great. That's not good. And over 6 months, where I have not changed, people have gone from here to over here, which is we don't want to destroy Hamas. We don't want to do what needs to be done.
Mhm.
And so now, instead of reminding people not to be vengeful, I need to remind them to be just. And I haven't changed where I stand. We need to destroy Hamas, and we need to mourn that that we were forced to do that. Yeah.
Question concerning Gaza. At the very beginning of the war, it was a continual. There's 10,000 bodies. There's 20,000. There's 30,000. Has any independent?
No, because those people in charge of the Hamas Health Ministry.
Yeah, and so we have no idea who.
We suspect that there's probably 4,000 to 6,000 civilians.
Because I would think there'd be an awful lot of people to bury. We'd kind of see it from space.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with that. But here's okay. Go. Let me address that one first. Okay. People talk about proportionality. If you want to have proportionality based on how many Israelis were killed on October 7th means we should go kill between 2 and 3 million Arabs right now. That's proportional.
Yeah.
That's also insane.
Yeah.
Okay. But that is if you want to talk proportionality. Number one. Number two is one life is one that has to be taken as one too many. Let alone thousands. One life is one too many. That's the truth from our perspective, because all the universe, every one life is a universe. Welcome from Adam. But at the same time, we need to remember the teaching of Amalek and King Saul. King Saul loses his kingship because he does not kill the innocents. Because there are no innocents. Even though on the one hand there are, on a certain level there aren't. Because remember, if why should the Amalekite animals be killed? They're innocent. But here's the problem. So Alex is walking by with his cute little goat. I say, where'd you get that goat? And he says, oh, from Amalek. Oh, who was Amalek? And instead, we're supposed to blot out his remembrance. We need to blot out. How many of you have heard of the Mablukes?
The what?
Exactly.
What did you say? The
Mablukes.
Yeah, I've heard.
Okay. We need to blot out Hamas so that 50 years from now, 100 years from now, someone says Hamas, people say, who?
Who is that?
Right.
That's what we need to do, which means you kill the goats too.
Mhm.
And that's horrible. And it's true. The other question you had, there was a part two.
Take back. You said what was the thing that I took out of this class, and I wanted to amend my answer.
Okay, you can do that.
Thank you. I like the idea of the moral fence, because that helped me understand about grazers versus the others, that kept you in the straight and narrow. It also explains why my stuffy, obnoxious rabbi of my youth, he was trying to make fences to make it easier to make it, and he just he went overboard on it, but it was meant in the best of ways.
Hey, look, so did Adam with Eve. Remember?
Yeah.
Right? He said that we're not supposed to eat or touch it to the snake, when in fact she was only told by Adam, don't eat it. Or God only told Adam, don't eat it. So he translated, don't eat or touch it.
Yeah.
It is the idea of building the fence around. It's a good thing to be cautious. And that's a wise thing to do in life. Right? It
Is
is,
that where the Arab comes from now?
well, that comes from so you don't break the laws. The laws of Shabbat that are more biblical, not biblical, excuse me, more Talmudic laws than biblical laws. And that's the choice to live in the Eruv. Not my choice. Although I guess I am in the Eruv now, aren't I? No, I think where I moved to is now in the Eruv.
Are you technically in an Arab?
I think I am now. Yeah,
Nice.
I think. I'm not sure. I'm in somebody's Eruv.
Yeah, somebody's.
But
again, it's all the reminders of, that pre whatever time period. For the most part, they all just knew what to do, as you said. Like Abraham knew what to do, and he just did it.
he's commanded to do things and he does it, but there were we get Matan Torah on Mount Sinai, and we're told very specifically, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. We get our laws. And our laws, remember, halakha does not mean a law, it means a way of going. The word holech or lalechet means to go. Halakha means a way of going. And that's what Judaism is, a pathway of going. So I thank you for being kind. Huh?
Yeah, now that, since I don't speak Hebrew, I don't always know what the words are that I hear people speak or that I speak myself. So it's a way of going. I like that.
Halacha is always, it's a halacha or halakha, depending on where you're from, is translated as law. It doesn't really mean law. It means a way of going. It comes from the word lalechet. So
It's like straight and narrow.
it's the pathway. Here's how you go.
Straight and narrow, I mean, you could be, but I just think of it as the
Way
way
to
you
go.
go.
Way to go.
This is the way to
The
go.
way of going is much broader.
Yeah.
It's a way of going. It's a way of
That's the
so.
way it goes.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. Oh, sorry, that was a song from. So, and all of our rituals and all of our practices and all of our tools are paraphernalia. All these things are ways to help us to go in the right way. And that's part of the reason we're hated, which is not something that people really understand who are non-Jews. Part of the reason we're hated is because we say this is a way that you can live and the way we're supposed to. Again, Judaism is not about making life easy or feeling good. It's about helping us be better. So I thank you for all of that. And a
Thank you.
lot that we learned, huh?
Yes, we did.
You never stop.
Mhm.
Nope, never, no way to stop it. And it is, but this is how we learn as we study. And we have more and more books, and we have more and more texts, and more commentaries, and more information that's always coming out with interpretations and everything else.
You have given us some things.
Oh, I've given lots of handouts, right? We've had lots of
I
handouts.
know you did. And there are a few different pages that I may be reaching out to ask you for some of it.
It's
I
always,
go back and pull all my notes out. And
we
figure out
have,
what
and we can keep doing this, and we will keep doing this. We're going to have another class. We'll start in a couple of weeks. It'll start after Pesach. I got to think about what to do it on. Traditionally, the text to study is Pirkei Avot, is one of the traditional texts to study during that time. I don't know if that really makes sense or not. If we want to do Heschel's book, Passion of the Truth, but let's see also where the world is, because the world's in a pretty crazy, chaotic place, and we need to see what Israel's reaction, and we pray that Israel stays safe for her land and her people, stay safe and protected, and it's a pretty weird world out there. So I wanted to be safe and to know that our ultimate trust is in God. So thank you for being kind to me and let me do this stuff. Okay. And people watching can always email questions as well whenever they want to. Okay. We'll take it from there.